Fellow Ambazonians, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Uh, I hope we are doing well across the globe. Today on the Kisiaka show, I wish to touch on a couple of aspects, and I've termed this show self-reflection and the Ambazonia that we want. Before I start this live, before I start this show, this broadcast, I want to pay tribute to one of our finest, the best that Ambazonia has gotten, the best soldier that will be on the top of our memorial wall after our independence, General Mba Ivor. I think yesterday or 2 days was his marked his second anniversary. I want to use this to also pay my allegiance to him. He paid his allegiance. He gave his blood, his everything for the Ambazonian flag. May you rest in power, hero. To the Republic of Cameroon, wherever you are keeping the corpse of our hero, we'll take him back home. We'll take him back home. Thank you, General. You rest in power as you continue to guide your fighters in the battlefield. We'll always commemorate your anniversary, and we'll continue to fulfill what you left for us to fulfill. We'll continue the job that you left undone. We'll finish it. You sacrificed your all for our motherland, Ambazonia. It wasn't for money. It wasn't for praises. It's because you believe in the ideology of Ambazonia. You believe that we are doing the right thing. You understood where we're coming from. And you knew that we had just the last option to fight for our people and to ensure that we have a free nation for our future generation. Thank you, General Ba Ivo. Rest in power. Fellow Ambazonians, I want to ask something to Ambazonians. Those of you who sit in areas and places and rant about thinking that things are going to go back to normal, I just want to make sure that, sorry, I put my glasses. I just want to make sure that we get certain things clear. Are you going back to a system where you were called or termed the Biafrans? You were called the enemy in the house, the unwanted people. Are you going back to a system to live with people whom the president openly admitted in an international forum that they did everything to assimilate you, but they didn't succeed? And they will do everything possible to continue to destroy you. Do you intend to go to a system where they have systematically dismantled every fabric of the society that your forefathers built? They toiled in vain. Remember, you had your forefathers who left Nigeria with all the uncertainty, little education, little resources to build on. But they believed in Ambazonia. They believed in a nation. They would have been killed. Anything would have happened to them. But they walked out of the house of Inugu and said, we're going to take our people to a better situation. They succeeded in their own era with little effort, little information. But they thought about us. They thought about the future. We, at this point in time, we have the resources, we have the manpower. We have the knowledge to understand that we are under suppression or subjugation. What our forefathers struggled with in Nigeria, and we want to maintain the status quo. It's really shocking. Do you want to go to a state in a system where your economic fabric has been dismantled intentionally? Your socio-economic uh, way of life has been dismantled, resources being stolen out of your country consistently, a land where you live like a slave. All the major parastatals, the big ones, they pay taxes, like the so-called Sonora. The Sonora was taken down. They pay their taxes not even to where the resources, the company is. They pay its tax in Douala. Do you want to stay in such a system? Look, the issue is not economy or politics. The issue is, you know, our integrity has been tampered with as a nation. I always remind people we have international boundaries surrounding us. Like Republic of Cameroon had its independence in January 1961. Uh, uh, Nigeria had its independence in October 1961. So, and those independence, the independence of the Republic of Cameroon was carved by international boundaries that ended at Matazin and also at Mongo. Nigeria borders ended at Ekok and the rest. So we are a nation. We have to always understand that. We cannot put our head in the sand like an ostrich or pretend our future generation will never forgive us if we have to pretend around or play around with their own future for them to do what we are supposed to do now. We have all the information out there. We have dug out everything and put it in front of us. I want to say something. The world is talking about us because of the stance and the position that we have taken. The only solution is self-defense. We have a right of self-determination. If we don't understand, maybe some of us don't know our rights. Some people sit and talk in some media of one peace, one peace. How can you have peace without justice? There can be no peace without justice. We are challenging the legality of the union that we have with the Republic of Cameroon. We had the right to join with them, and we had the right to be an independent nation. It's not working. So we are stepping out. They were never part of us prior to their independence, and we're never part of them. There is no binding treaty that keeps us together as one nation. There is no binding treaty. You can go to the UN. There is no document that officially binds us to the Republic of Cameroon. There is no official document that binds the two countries together. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about black on black colonization. Some of us, because we've so been comfortable with tokenism, where we just want to believe in. That's what has, let me say this very clearly. That is what has kept us as a race of people in bondage. The mind element in us, thinking about myself, what am I going to get about it? You don't even think about your own children. You don't think about the future generation. That's the cancer that has been eating us as a race of people. And unless we get out of it and start thinking about collectivism and the future of our generation, the future generations, we see it reflected in this revolution. Jesus said in the Bible, not everybody who call my name is a Christian. Not everybody who says Ambazonia is fighting for Ambazonia. We have been seeing it playing out in this revolution. A revolution is not a walk in the park. If you can't stand it, back out. It's not in Jangi house. Don't clock the system. I want to ask something to our people. You want to go back to a system where, look at the Republic of Cameroon, look at their structure. There is no criteria in selecting who is supposed to perform what. No level or element of competency. You see, I want to say something. Do you want to go back to such a dilapidated system where there is no meritocracy? there is abuse and misuse of resources? No. Culturally, we are different. We are two different people. That's always been like that. Look across Africa. Look at the Francophone countries. Look at their state. Then compare to countries that were colonized by the British and they are free, were presumed to be free. Look at their state. You see a big difference. So you want to comfortably and confidently go and stay in this precarious situation with these people? A revolution is not a walk in the park. Even the greatest nation on earth, the United States of America, people stood up and challenged the greatest nation on earth then, the British. And they told them, give me liberty or death. I deserve to be a free person. I deserve to be a free nation. They were underarmed, undermanned. They didn't have enough manpower. They didn't have enough resources. They believed in one thing: freedom. They fought the Brits, the biggest military on earth then, and they got their independence. Currently in Ambazonia, we have more than what they had to build a nation, to fight for what we duly own. We are not going to allow moderates or usurpers or profiteers to taint this revolution. We see them and we know they are playing their role. The hardliners are going to take this thing through. People are cut off different cloths, but the hardliners are going to take this whole thing through. Look, let me say something. There is what we see playing out in a microscopic level within our revolution now currently. I want to ask, our people. The Republic of Cameroon, they have copied a very good lesson from their masters, France. And this is, if you look across the world, historically, this has always been the strategy that has been used by colonial masters, or I call it slave masters. They have used one consistent strategy, and you see it being used in our revolution: the strategy of divide and rule, using your own people to do their own bidding. When we started this revolution, there was I can say that they have successfully pushed back a little bit, you know, but we are readjusting and reaffirming and reasserting our position. When we started this revolution, we were succeeding in every front. There was that collective spirit in us. But we have seen instances where they have slowly bought over some people to try to disrupt this revolution. They always say it's a God ordained revolution. It's really a God ordained revolution. You see, what happened was that when they successfully, colonized our territory, they decided to immediately split us into two. And for the past 50 years, there's always been that, either using political positions to keep us into confusion. For the past 4 years, we blurred the line. They have fought extremely hard to open it up, but we have been blurring the line. Now you see in our revolution, most of the people that are pushing them ahead of this to attack us, attack the freedom fighters, are Ambazonians. You don't see francophones. You don't see their faces in front of those who are fighting against the resistance. You see their Tangangis, you see the Diongutes, of which they obtained those positions because of the revolution. You see, like the other mayors of parliament, most of them, they are the ones that are using to fight us, even within the fighting forces. The likes of Nambere and the others that are going, and the Yanika, and they are using them to fight their own brothers. The question I want to ask you, the people like Nambere and the rest who are joining forces to fight their own brothers. Where are you going to live? In that same land to serve your slave masters, like the people of Cameroon? You think you're going to live in that same land? Even the ancestors of that land, they will not allow your spirit to rest. Let's say they move everybody in Ambazonia and tell you to go and live in that land. Your friends that you have fought with on the battlefield, their spirit will not allow you to rest. To those of you who are trying to, I want to make one thing very clear. To those of you who are trying to think, don't think that you can be bought over and then you play the game of money. Let me tell you this. This is how these people have always functioned. The French have always functioned, and they indoctrinated the Francophones to function like that. When they use you, they'll break you. You think you are comfortable because of little token cash? No. When they use you, they'll break you. You might feel comfortable now. They use money to buy you over, to use to expose your own brothers. But let me tell you something. You are not going to survive. You will not survive the Francophones and you will not survive the French. You might think you are doing yourself a favor to come back to the same status quo. Some of you are who have been fighting. Some of you don't have a job. You are fighting because you know you can do. I mean, we have better. Our situation can be better. We are fighting for a nation, a lost nation. Those of you who think that you can sell out your friends or your brothers, be careful. Think twice. When they use you, they will destroy you. And you tend to realize that the backbone of this revolution now is the ADF because it was built on an ideology. We didn't just pick boys on the street. You see, my able senior comrade, Kavi, Sheikh Kavi Omilim, he went down. The ADF specifically deployed him to go to the field. We were not just gathering boys to put them to fight. We had to let them to understand there's a reason why you fight. He educated them. He gave them the ideology of why we are fighting. That's why till now, they are still in the field. The real freedom fighters are still in the field. They don't play around with money. So you keep on thinking that you are going to work with Liberia, Cameroon. I'm asking you, your own brothers that have died honorably to save the land. You want to turn against their own spirit. You think they're going to survive? Uh, Recently, I learned that there's concerted efforts to recruit soldiers from the northwest. I mean, sorry, from the Ambazonian territory. I just made that mistake because there is nothing like northwest, southwest. We are Ambazonia. I hear they were trying to recruit soldiers to fight. I keep on telling you that's how the Francophone, the French operates. Use your kind to fight you. But who benefits the most? They are the ones that benefit from behind. It has been the case even across Africa. Using your own kind to fight you for their own benefit. Recently, we heard that they are trying to recruit more soldiers. Where are the ones that they had? If you think we are not winning, they have deserted, we have killed them. They are being buried consistently in Ebola and the south. We continue to kill them. We don't put everything out. And we'll continue in that manner. But if you think that, to those who are, I want to give this as a self-reflection to Ambazonians who think that you're going to follow, maybe you're going to follow maybe a couple of penny or token to come and fight your own brothers. Know very well that if you dare do that type of thing, as I've said, no soldier, no Liberia Cameroon soldier currently fighting with no Liberia Cameroon soldier currently fighting with Liberia Cameroon against us, who is killed, We are going to make sure that we desecrate their corpse. We're going to make sure that your corpse doesn't even enter our land. And even if he enters our land, we'll desecrate the grave. Because you don't belong to that land. You don't even have the respect. You don't deserve the respect to be buried in our own land. You don't deserve it. I keep on asking, those who are still with the Republic of Cameroon, what are you thinking? When you step into your own motherland to kill your own kind, what are you thinking? Please join the revolution. Join the revolution and be an honored person in Ambazonia. Look, the truth is this: this whole thing has started. People think that this is gonna that no, it's not gonna. If the independence of our land is something that was going to be, a flux or something, we won't be where we are today. Biya himself said he had tried for the past 60 years to assimilate with, but he didn't succeed. So what makes you think that it's gonna go back to normal? No, we are going to fight to the last man standing. We mean what we say. We're going to fight to the last man standing. We put our face out there. We are not afraid. We already, most of us, we in the AGOF, let's say the ADF or AGOF body, we know that we are living a post life because, particularly those of us who talk unapologetically about the independence of our land, we're living a post life because we have transcended the level of our physical being. We know we can be killed at any time. And just as an aside, someone was asking me the question, oh, why don't you come down to the field and fight? There's something we have to understand. Diasporans provide resources, technical know-how, and provide fighting. Asking the question, what are you doing? No, the body. We have times that we do certain things. We need to come and tell people what we are doing. Some people create art. Some people go. We don't need to do that. That was an aside I was trying to push out. So when I hear those people ranting about, oh, what are you doing in diaspora? Look, one thing is very clear. There can be no peace without justice. Most of us in the diaspora, 95% of those who are in the diaspora, putting their face, their neck, and their everything out, we are living an extremely comfortable life. But we cry because our people are suffering unjustly. That's why we put in our resources, our everything for a free nation. The freedom that we enjoy outside is what we miss. Our people miss back home. That's why we fight. I will fight to our last mile for a free nation. We understand what freedom means. We see what freedom means. We feel what freedom means. And we know that we are lacking in that. That's why we fight. I want to say something. They cannot talk about Ambazonia. They can even give some respect to Ambazonia because of arms. Armed ground zero. Continue to throw more arms on the ground. We'll say it openly, unapologetically. That's the only way out. I want to ask those people who are talking about Swiss-led talk about, uh, you know, the HG and the rest. People dropping their arms to before they can address the situation, the problem that we have. I want to say something. The Republic of Cameroon not even committed to the Swiss talk. Why are you cajoling soldiers and telling them to drop their arms? I will squarely put this, as I keep on saying, not everybody who says Ambazonia is fighting for Ambazonia. Some are fighting their personal interests. But those real valiant soldiers of the revolution, those I'll call the Spartan, the few, the critical mass, we're going to put it through. We're going to take this whole thing through. The likes of Ebenezer Akwanga, Where are they? Instead of putting more arms, he was talking about AKO, Ambazonia, and the rest. Where is his position? Where does he stand? The ones that are trying to disarm our boys from the field. I should make people make us understand something. Not everybody who says Ambazonia means what they are saying. Look at their actions. We have a history now of this revolution. We are prepared to go out fighting. We are prepared to go down fighting. That land must be free. I want to say something. People might be thinking that it's a joke. No matter what, that land will be free. And I want to ask the likes of Nambere, who is going around working with the enemy. What will your grandchildren tell you in future? What will your children say? What will your grandchildren say in future about you? This situation is something that we understood from the word go as ADF, that we always have even the enemy will plant its own internal forces, Trojan horses to fight us from within. We knew. That's why we still survive till today. And that's why we keep on going. Let me say this to the likes of Nambere. You'll be a disgrace to your grandchildren. You look, just when South Africa was fighting for their independence, the likes of Buthelezi were going against the ANC, but they still obtained their independence because those of the ANC, they believed in the spirit of freedom. That's why some of us are doing what we are doing. Not all the sweet talking that is going to push us to, you know, giving up. We will not give up. Give us liberty or death. Some of these people go around making all the noise and talking about decentralization, talking about, look, they are those are the ones that we call them such as benefiting that people who are benefiting from tokenism, that mind spirit that you have in us. People, because of the little money that you see, you don't even have the bigger picture of your people at heart, your grandchildren at heart. You don't have them. You are trying to maintain your own crumbs. You are trying to maintain the little crumbs coming from your master's table, France and like Cameroon. You are not going to mortgage us as you have been doing in the past. We are fighting for our future for our future generation. We are fighting for our future generation. You're going to mortgage us for that. I know the element of divide and rule is you are just applying what your master France taught the Francophonie Cameroon best, and they're applying it on our own territory, creating a spirit of divide and rule, individualism. That's not the Ambazonia we are thinking about. Ambazonia has come to stay. Let me say this very clearly. It has come to stay. You see, when you see what's there, that's the flag. You see behind me, that's the flag that is flying. It's a nation of its own. We'll make sure that we preserve that nation. One thing I have to tell Ambazonians is this: in every revolution, you have the ups and the downs. You have the peaks and you have the valleys. Every revolution. There are battles that you will win. There are battles you will lose. But the end of the day is to win the war. And the war is in our hands. And we are going to win the war. That is, we are not disputing about that. So when we have our lows, we understand that we have to get up, dust ourselves, and get going. Do what is right now so that our future generation will not come back to laugh at us, will not come back to insult us. Some of us have been so gullible, like trying to insult the Funchas and talking all sorts of craziness about them. They did their own part. So what are we doing now? Are we regressing or progressing? They tried at their own level. Now that we have intellectuals, we have the resource, we have everything. With all the history that we've had with these people, some people are still talking about us playing with these people. No, it's not going to happen. I want to say something. I'll give a series of live shows consecutively in the coming weeks ahead. I'll pick one topic and I talk about the Ambazonia that we want. I'll touch on education. I'll touch on economy. I'll touch on politics. I'll touch on aspects like international relations and nationalism. I'll touch on these five aspects in my next live video. I'll take on one topic each and I'll talk on it. Today, I'll try to talk about education. One thing I have to say is that they always say in life that if you don't know your past, you don't know you will not be able to assess your present and you will not be able to forecast the future. Ambazonians, we have been lied to as Ambazonians and lied to as a race of people. I want to ask you something, Ambazonians. Have you ever, because the type of curriculum that was shaped and given to us by our colonial masters and like the Camerooners, they to enforce it, since the curriculum comes from France, was is a type of curriculum that was meant for us to continue to serve our colonial masters. You know, that's why I want to ask, have you ever thought about, hey, we have Bakwere people here, we have Bafor people here, we have next to them is the Bangwa people, next to them is those tribes that we see just clustered around. Have you ever studied it as a history of how those people came to be where they are? How did they settle in those areas? Is it part of our curriculum? Where do they come from? What's the history of those various people in our nation? You go, but you come up, where you go, and the funniest thing is that in our own curriculum, they'll teach us on how European nations came to be formed, uh, bits and pieces and parts of them, how they were created and how they came together to create that nation to show their greatness. Have we ever studied our own self? From the tribes that we have, the villages, how we came about to create ourselves, to create a formation of where we are currently. If you don't start to understand your own self, you continue to be an empty vessel that will keep on pouring every crap in you. Our history has been changed. We don't even know ourselves. We don't even know where we come from. We don't know, as a race of people, we don't even know who we are. Some of us migrated from the east, some migrated from the west, some migrated from the south, some are Bantu. We don't even have that notion of who we are. What type of curriculum is that? And then you see, like, even with the dilapidated nation of like Cameroon, their curriculum comes from France. France must validate what they teach. That's indoctrination. They must validate what they are supposed to be learning. Who told you that your master, your slave master, is ever going to allow you to be a free person? Who told you that? France must validate everything. So you want to go back to that slave nation where you willfully, voluntarily go and chain yourself into slavery? Do we even know about the colonial pact that France has with its Francophone countries? Where even the resource that you have under your soil, France has the right to determine whether to exploit or not, or to allow it to contracts. You want to take yourself and go and chain yourself back into slavery by saying that we should stay with these people. A country where anything must be ratified by France, from France. Selection, politics, social, everything. You want us to carry ourselves back and go and chain ourselves back to these people to voluntarily enslave ourselves when we know better. From contracts, France has to approve Francophone countries that the contracts that is it should be. I mean, he has the right to bid first for all public contracts. French companies, militarily, you cannot. They are the ones that are supposed to be training our soldiers until they give permission to. Except things have changed. They have not changed. You go to yeah. You talk about economy, your resources. They are the ones that own their resources on their soil. Talk about the type of education they are supposed to be educated on. They are the ones. I think it's if now if after years they have 65 to 80% of your GDP, your money annually is stored in French treasury, where they use that money, put it in their stock exchange, raise money, the benefits that they have in that money. You don't know anything about it. But you cannot even go and borrow above 20% of that money they have kept, sorry, in their treasury. You can't even borrow your own money that you have kept there. They claim that they are stabilizing you. You want to carry yourself and go and change yourself back into this form of slavery. People who will know about this, I will understand that and want to willfully or participate in pulling us back into that system. You are worse than a vermin. I want to say this. We cannot be in the 21st century and willfully become a slave. We have not even recovered from the slavery that was imposed on us by Europeans. We are still struggling from the side effects of that. And then came colonization, the pretense of independence that we had. And now we have an opportunity and an opening for us to be a free people who want to take ourselves and voluntarily go and chain ourselves into slavery. No, it's not going to happen. The few, the bold and the daring Spartans of Ambazonia will take this whole thing through. In other parts of Africa, others have done it. We have more than enough resource and capability to do it. We'll have our lows, we'll have our ups and downs, but the bottom line is that we'll be free. Don't give up. I want to touch on, I'm still talking about education. How comes you are in a nation, the nation that we were trying to create as Ambazonians? We are looking at innovation and technology. Look at the current system. We have a lot of doctors upon doctors in fields of agriculture, doctors upon doctors in fields of engineering and technology, but you cannot boast of factories, you cannot boast of industries being created. So that's why I still say that the education that we had is just meant to serve the colonial masters. You cannot even compare the fake, system that we exist under, that we're fighting against, with Nigeria. Neighboring Nigeria, people are creating things. There's innovation going there. The Ambazonia we want a result-driven Ambazonia. We will design and develop our own curriculum that suits us, our territory, our environment, and the current situation around the world. It won't be handed over to us. Look at the country like Rwanda. How did they do it? They did it by themselves. They looked at what works best based on their terrain, based on their situation, and look at where they stand as of now. We are 10 times richer than Rwanda. It's just the mindset. You see, there's a lot of rumbling in this revolution because we're trying to, we have a lot of dirt in us. And as the revolution advances, it's filtering itself out. The thieves that were trained by the people of Cameroon, the bad blood, the con men, they are popping themselves up and getting out. The likes of Santos, the like of Dr. Success, the like even Success, and the rest. and all our infiltrators, they are popping up and getting out. But the revolution is on steam, full steam. It's cleaning, we're cleansing ourselves as we move towards our independence. We're going to talk about innovation and technology. We'll design our schools where children will be able to do. We talk about auto mechanics. Children should be able to dismantle by the time they're graduating as an auto mechanic in auto mechanic program. You should be able to dismantle a car, the last part, and mount it back. It's through that type of thought process that you can engineer innovation. We have some students going to schools like auto mechanic, they get like having a cap or whatever they call it, a GC in auto mechanics, but they don't know anything about cars. Who have ideas of engineering. That was engineering that one result-driven engineering. People can tell you more about the software, hardware, if you're a hardware engineer, the parts in it. So that you can, from there, you can be creative to create things. And the government will be able to create spaces, where after you are finished with school, those spaces will exist where you can be able, to go into a space of creating things for our own nation. Any nation that cannot feed itself, cannot provide medication to itself, it's always depend from the external people on external people. It's a dead nation. It's not an existing nation. That's why you see across some countries in Africa. We in Ambazonia will believe in the spirit of making our own things for our own self. We have doctors of agriculture, agronomy. This how many how to call it design engine or equipment do you see them creating in our own nation? How do they transcend that information, that doctorateship or whatever, into real productivity? We are still importing food from outside. We have vast fertile land. There is nothing in place like trying to say we can convert that land to be able to cultivate our land and be able to feed ourselves and export. But we're importing rice from other parts of the world where we have the fields, the paddy fields that we can convert those fields and produce rice and even market. We hear of doctors in agriculture who are still running shortage of food. I think, when we talk about the type of education that we want for Ambazonia, when you come out and graduate like an accountant, and one of the aspects that we are going to inject in our educational system is accountability. You should be accountable for everything that you do. Nation first. We have people graduating from. I heard a very sad story not long ago for one of my colleagues, one of my friends, who is a pharmacist. She wanted to come and set up a pharmacy back home. The terms and conditions that they gave her was unbelievable. First of all, they talked about, she has to obtain some paperwork or be trained as a pharmacist in Cameroon. What structures do they have? What regulations or guidelines do they have that you can follow through? Do they have a board? Do they have like exams that you have to qualify for getting into to practice pharmacy? Then they are picking your own location. Then you are going, if you want to put up a pharmacy, you're going to put in a pharmacy, put a set of pharmacy there. Even the basic quality control systems in place to control medication coming into your own country, you don't even have. So they can even poison the whole nation. You hear of people. I'm talking about, we have doctors graduating from places. Why should a nation that rich like Ambazonia have doctors graduating from Ambazonia and you have to go maybe to other places to go and train and come back to be a specialist? Don't we have the capability and the capacity to train our own specialists from within our own system? We are building Ambazonia that the type of curriculum and education that we're going to implant or implement in our own nation is the type of curriculum and education that we are going to be self-productive, self-sufficient. You will not go to school and come back and be useless. You will always have something to contribute in the society. Even if you decide to go to there will be things like, you know, tailoring schools. You come out, you create, have models, you have shops. We'll have to create a system where even our textile industry will be protected. You come out, you should be able to produce things that are made in Ambazonia and be proud of it. We can't have this type of mentality. The Ambazonia we're trying to create from an educational standpoint. Look, we are very intelligent people. Ambazonians are even though despite all the harsh and punitive conditions that we have gone through as in the name of education, when we go out of the country, we still excel. We still excel. I can imagine that if you put in all the effort and energy back home and create a result-driven type of education, I can imagine where we are going to be. We're not going to create an education. You are just going to school because you are going to school. Technology, engineering, science will be front and center. Those who want to do art craft will make sure that there is space. If you decide to say you want to do designing or whatever, there will be space for you after you finish your program to be able to have a market to survive and live in our society. We'll create an education that will be business driven, and education is like an investment. When you sow in, you'll be able to reap the fruit. We'll have to redefine all our curriculum from nursery, or call it kindergarten, through professional programs. All we geared towards result driven type of education and serving your nation. We will not stay to serve the colonial masters as we have been doing, as most African nations are doing. The Ambazonia we're going to create is Ambazonia that will be a different type of nation. We have a vision and we know what we're talking about. We have sensed it, we have tasted it outside. We know what our people need, what our people want, and what our people deserve. We cannot continue to suffer under this decadent system. People without soul, no level of, can call it morality. A nation you want to enslave yourself in a nation where there is no accountability, no criteria for selection of people to run certain public posts. People running, it's a whole banana republic. No. Ambazonia will be 10 times better. We will create our own curriculum. We will start by implementing self-respect, dignity, integrity, and decency as a person and for the nation. Nationalism will be part of our education. Love for country. In such a way that by the time you are moving from one step to the next, you should understand that, well, there is just no room for you to deceive your nation. There's no room for you to, destroy your nation. Accountability is key. There is just no room for, because the punishment for corruption, bribery, and theft will be tantamount to, will be even what will be. I can put it this way: there are countries in Asia where just corruption is death sentence. I don't see anything wrong implementing that in Cameroon, in Ambazonia. I don't see anything wrong in implementing the Ambazonia. We will breed a new breed of Ambazonians. Our education is tainted, disrupted, dysfunctional, and has been designed and shaped to serve the colonial masters. We are going to change that. We are going to change that. Now we think of that's the more reason why when you are just when you are just finishing up your education, you are already thinking of getting out of the country, getting out of the country, getting out of the country because of the mindset, the thought process that they have put us through. Remain hopeful, remain blessed. Understand that Ambazonia will be free. It wasn't going to be easy. Why? We are so blessed. That's not a desert. We are so blessed. And we know what we are fighting for. Currently, we don't fight for ourselves. We fight for our future generation. The Funchas, they gave their all. They tried in their own little way to give us a future. We are not going to fail our future generation. There is just no way. The destiny is unconditional freedom. Unconditional freedom. We are not going to negotiate our independence. We are not going to talk less about that. You see all these sham that are pulling around. Oh, the regionalism. Oh, why? They're trying to put that cloth. They're trying to lure us to sleep. Then those people who are like the ones who come out and for tokens, they are the ones that think that they'll keep on to lure because of their mindset, mentality. The likes of Agbogbala, who thinks of fame and personal gratification. The likes of Dion Gute, who sees people being killed, his village burned down, and then he keeps on standing for the system that is destroying your own people. The likes of Atanga Ponji, that land will never ever stand you. You will never ever stand in that land. People who will sit and call you Biafran or Midang La Maison, they are now using your type. They are using you people to come and continue because you are benefiting. They are using you to come and think you can convince us. No. Our freedom is non-negotiable. We will fight to the last man standing. That era of just people of us, people are just we don't respect titles. Freedom is above everything in Ambazonia. So because no, all that showmanship or grandeur is for nothing. Look, I want to ask something. In a normal nation, would the likes of Atanga Ponji be the Minister of Territorial Administration? Look at his background. Look at his qualification. Look at his resume. They push him there because they want to use your own kind to fight you. I will say this. If soldiers who are in the field and they are trying to buy you over, I want to say this to the second and third commanders in those camps. Whereas we're hearing that some soldiers are taking money and building their mansions or whatever. Ask yourself that your brothers who have fallen in the field, did they fall in the field for this commander or the head to go and take the money, their blood money, and be building in the field? Using it for their own personal reasons? No, take him out. We have overwhelming evidence. Take him out. With that evidence, explain it to your soldiers. Get in touch with the ADF. Even if you're not an ADF, how to call it, force, get in touch with us. We'll expose it, and then you take over the camp and continue fighting with the real freedom fighters. Because some people will take advantage of that, and they will have real freedom fighters under them. They'll want to use them to make money and either end up frying you. I would say this: take the resources. Now we hear that going right down like the general manager of Pamol buying over some force in Southern, so some person, somebody in Southern on his building house. In like, look, the second or third in command, take him out, use the real liberation fighters, and you continue the revolution. Any commander, any second commander or third commander, you have overwhelming evidence that your main commander or your general is taking money from the Cameroon and using it for his own personal use. Take him out, because your brothers who are falling in the field didn't fall for that. They didn't die in the field for that. Because if you leave him, he will end up selling you out. That is a potential threat to your units. If you know that your general is or has a clique that are trying to take monies from Liberia Cameroon and they're using it for their own personal gains, ask yourself this question. That's a self-reflection. Ask them, do I go to the battlefield? Ask yourself this question. Do I go to the battlefield to fight for you to come and profit from my battles that I'm fighting for real liberation? And at the end of the day, sell me out to Liberia Cameroon? No. If you have the overwhelming evidence that he's taking money from maybe other segments trying to kill down the revolution, take him out with that evidence, bring it over to the to ADF, who expose him, and you take over the forces, the genuine fighters fighting for the liberation, and move ahead. We are not in a church. A revolution is not a walk in the park. We are not going to permit or tolerate moderates to undermine this revolution. Hardliners will take this whole thing through. I will say it unapologetically. Our independence is non-negotiable. Anything that blocks the system will be cleansed. I say it directly to those people, fighters on the field. If any of your generals is there, you have overwhelming evidence that he's taking money for his personal use and keeping you, pretending that you are fighting for the revolution. Understand that someday, somehow, he's going to sell you out. So if you have that overwhelming evidence, just take him out. Bring the evidence out, take him out, bring the evidence, show your other fighters that this is what this man has been doing. This is the world that we are fighting for a nation, and he's fighting for his own personal pocket. Take him out. If there's the means to collect the wealth, use it to plow into the revolution. And let's go on. I openly say it, unapologetically. This revolution will have the ups and the downs, but the bottom line is this: Ambazonia will be free. Thanks for those who joined in the Kiseka show. Join me again next Wednesday, same time. And let's continue with the Ambazonia we want, part 2. We'll touch probably specifically on healthcare. We'll touch on that. We'll look at the precarious situation that we find ourselves in, and we'll look at the type of Ambazonia we want from the perspective of health. Thank you very much, fellow Ambazonians. Stay focused, don't blink, stay the course. We shall be free. We'll have our ups and downs, but we are going to be free. Thanks very much, Ambazonians, and join the Kiseka show next Wednesday, same time. And you stay blessed, stay focused.